Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to our session today, Transforming Predictive Maintenance by Combining Data, People, and Generative AI. Before we dive in, I would like to cover some basic housekeeping items. This presentation is being recorded, and we will send out a recording to you via email tomorrow. The session will run around 45 minutes, and it will only be better with your active participation. So please submit the questions that you might have throughout the presentation in the Q&A or questions box that you'll see in your upper right-hand corner of your viewing screen. We are monitoring the Q&A box at all times, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. And then finally, a reminder that you will be in listen-only mode during the entire presentation. So without further ado, let's get started. Take it away, Eric.
Awesome. Thanks, Disha. Welcome, everyone. Today, we have an exciting exclusive first look at some new technology available from Siemens. My name's Eric Kazer. I'm the Director of our Services Lifecycle Management at Digital Enterprise Services team. I'm joined today by my colleague, Alex Hill. Alex is the co-founder and the head of business development for Senseye Predictive Maintenance. So today we're going to be sharing that exclusive first look into Siemens Predictive Maintenance, especially in the new Gen AI capabilities that's been added to the product. Before we get started though, Alex, maybe introduce yourself and give us a little overview about Senseye in general.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. And thanks everyone for joining. I'm really excited to be revealing this, and we'll see how smooth it goes. This is going to be some beta functionality that we're demonstrating. We don't usually do this kind of thing, but it's exciting enough that we want to reveal it and talk about it and get that engagement going. So as Eric introduced me, I am one of the co-founders of Senseye, and we were acquired by Siemens back in 2022. And we've been working to really integrate very well with Siemens and make sure that we can offer this holistic package that is very difficult for other organizations to actually work or to have a different offer to, in the sense that Siemens gives so many good opportunities to have a complete turnkey offering. And really that's what we want to present today. And we want to talk about how we've been using generative AI to make sure that this is really simple for customers and actually gives them proper business outcomes. And with that focus on business outcomes, I want to talk a little bit about what Senseye is, what we're not, what we're focusing on, and how generative AI is going to enhance that experience for our customers. So predictive maintenance in general is filled with challenges, and it's important that we acknowledge that. This is still a relatively early market. There's still a lot of reticence amongst companies to share what they've achieved, and we want them to be more open about that. And one of the things that we can first do is acknowledge the challenges with predictive maintenance. And those are that often these projects are not successful. And I like to wheel out a statistic from Gartner that 80% of analytics projects can fail to deliver business outcomes. And that business outcome phrase is really, really important to us. We need to always make sure that we are focused on business outcomes. And there's a lot of challenges, a lot of barriers to achieving that. A lot of companies are still focused on reactive maintenance. They need a proven, reliable solution. They need to manage the cultural change that comes with that. And it needs to be scalable. And we've really summarized these into 5 different areas that we feel are really core. The challenges with predictive maintenance broadly across all industries are maintaining uptime, making sure that when your reliability professionals go and perform some intervention, is on the correct thing in the correct way. Making sure that all stakeholders are aligned, particularly as there's more of a convergence between IT and OT. Increasing sustainability, and when we talk about that, it's really increasing asset lifetime and reducing the amount of inspections and spare parts that need to be held. And fundamentally, reducing operational costs and risks. That's why we're here. We're here to save money. But it's not quite as simple as that. It's compounded by these other issues around, is the data analytics solution scalable, not only from a technology point of view, but from a training and an economical point of view? How can we break down data silos? How can we make sure that we encourage adoption? How can we make sure that we encourage collaboration? And one of the key things I really want to talk about today is how do we address a skills shortage that we are seeing in general in the industrial and manufacturing space? And our simple answer is, okay, we answer these things with Senseye. Senseye is an automated asset intelligence and predictive maintenance software tool focused on delivering business outcomes. And we've been around for a number of years now. Those business outcomes we feel are relatively clear. I'm not going to go into them in huge detail. We have other webinars to talk about that. But fundamentally, we can reduce downtime, we can reduce the maintenance costs. We have proven public case studies around that. But when it gets into retaining institutional knowledge, what can we do? How can we work with that? More and more of our customers are saying that the new fleet of maintenance and reliability professionals that are coming in just simply don't have the experience and expertise that some of their more senior peers may have. So what can we do about that? And that's going to be the whole subject of this webinar. Senseye has been proven across a number of different industries, number of very large familiar brand names that I won't go into today. But fundamentally, we usually achieve about a 50% reduction in unplanned downtime with a return on investment less than 3 months. And we monitor tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably millions of different sensors across the world in all kinds of different industries with thousands and thousands of users. So how can we take that to the next stage of productivity? How can we make sure that our customers are able to easily achieve increased reliability, precise and correct maintenance, reduced operational risks, increased sustainability, and build upon their current institutional knowledge and really take advantage of that? So our answer to that has always been actually combine the data from the machine with the data that your maintenance and reliability professionals are working with. So combine their knowledge, their activities, their feedback with what we're seeing on the factory floor and use AI to automate any and every kind of analysis around that. It's a fundamental belief of ours that AI is much better suited to filtering through this kind of data than humans are. Humans can do it and they're very good at it, but it's not really a job that anybody wants. And we need to use AI to enable the maintenance professionals to focus and demonstrate the business outcomes. So today is all about how we make that easier for them. And so the next stage of Senseye is to use the knowledge that we have. So we have vast amounts of sensor knowledge. We have vast amounts of maintenance knowledge, vast amounts of information about what people have done when we have seen an issue starting to arise. And so we have all of these condition indicators, all of this feedback from humans, all of these work events that we've seen, and we have the abilities of generative AI to now combine that and take our users to the next stage of ease of use and scalability and ultimately boosting reliability permanently. So I'm really excited to go into the demonstration of what we can do about that.
All right, Alex, I'm going to hold you back for a second, though. So it's obviously no secret we're going to show off some cool new technology in Gen AI. Before we get started, though, we just wanted to hear from the audience a little bit, a little poll question. We all hear about Gen AI, maybe in the news, maybe in personal lives, things like ChatGPT or Copilot, these types of tools. I'd just like to hear from the audience, what is your experience today, maybe in your personal life or in your work settings? The choices here, no experience yet, or maybe you're using it to generate Python code or automation code for your PLCs. Maybe you're creating images and pictures, right? I've seen a lot of these types of things, showing a cat riding a motorcycle or stuff like that. So you're using it to generate pictures, create documentation, maybe in a marketing setting, or maybe more into your work setting. Those last two options here. Contextualizing data to make decisions inside your automation or inside your businesses. Or lastly, and this starts to hint at what we want to show you today, are you providing co-pilot assistance to people in your organization to optimize and to better maintain their automation equipment? So while the poll results kind of roll in there, Alex, hand it back over to you. Can you give us a little bit more insight into how where you see generative AI, and maybe what this means for Senseye?
Sure, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that struggles sometimes saying generative AI. I feel like it's only yesterday that I really got the hang of saying that, and I was just avoiding it by saying large language models. So where do we see this at Senseye, and how can this actually help? And we spent a lot of time thinking about this. We spend a lot of effort on user experience and user design, because we've always felt that condition monitoring, predictive maintenance is not user-friendly. It's typically needed people who are very, very experienced in this field. And the challenge with that is they don't scale very well. So we want to be seeing how can we create this industrial co-pilot for Senseye that enables our users to scale their expertise in a really smart way. And we've not settled on the name yet, but this is the direction that we're going in. I need to set the scene, first of all, that generative AI is a new tool set. And tools build output, not outcomes. And you will have seen by the introduction that we're obsessed with outcomes. Every business is. We're not doing this for fun. It is quite fun, but ultimately, our customers are buying something because it helps them with a business outcome. They're not just buying a new tool. You buy a tool to do something. So what is the thing that we can do, and how do we define our approach to this? This is something we spent a lot of time thinking about. So Senseye has always been an AI product. Since day one, we said, look, we're going to be using AI to simplify the analysis of this quite complex data, of these quite complex relationships, and make sure that we're directing the human to where their attention is best focused, and using that human knowledge and human expertise to deal with unknown situations, and guiding that with the AI that's very good at understanding lots and lots of data that looks quite confusing at first. So generative AI for us is the next logical step. And our core competency is around machine learning and the application of that on condition monitoring. So Gen AI is really the next step for that. And it doesn't change our focus of valuing ways to solve human problems. We're focused on humans. Even though we talk about machines, this is all about the human. How does it help you as a maintenance and reliability professional, as an operations manager, as a production manager, to make sure that when you want to do something and produce something, you have the confidence that that will actually happen? And the quickest way that we think we can achieve this, and there's so many different ways we could go in, is by tackling this issue of the aging workforce and institutional knowledge walking out the door. So more and more, we're seeing this common theme that experienced engineers are retiring, and that expert knowledge is lost when people leave. And the simple answer is, oh, you could put it into a maintenance management system or an asset management system. And yes, that does happen. But everybody in this call, I think, will admit that the quality of what is in maintenance management systems is never where we want it to be. So there's this gap. We've got some data, we've got some experience, but we don't know how to quite build that up and communicate that to the new generations. The newer generations are more likely to come in and change jobs and not stick around for long enough to develop the ear and the hand feel for, okay, well, I can tell what's going on in this motor and I can guide what's happening. And also those people don't scale very well. You can't just multiply them out across your entire enterprise. So it's really hard to share and disseminate knowledge, especially across locations and languages. And top-down learning and best practices, yeah, you can put them to a PowerPoint and you can share that, but that takes time. That's difficult. And when you're running in a production environment where every minute or every hour of downtime can be crucial, that's a really inefficient area that actually we can help with. Whoops. So Senseye can help to capture that expert knowledge. We already do. We capture maintenance events. We capture what happened when we raised an issue and somebody came in and did something about it. We capture how happy they were with it. We use all of that to tweak how Senseye behaves. And it does that all automatically. One of our fundamental beliefs is if Senseye knows something, it should surface it to the user without the user needing to come in and interrogate it. So Senseye should voice this, it should tell people something, it should be very easy to use, and it should aid users when we are resolving cases and issues with machines that we're looking at. And ultimately, it needs to help guide the human. So all of this comes back to how do we help our end user? How do we help the human? And providing a simple chatbot, providing a way to interact with this very complex data and just to talk to it is interesting. It's very cool. And we're going to demonstrate that. But that's not actually the way that we feel people will get the most value out of this. And with that, I want to go into the demo, but I have a feeling, Eric, you might have some.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you, Alex. I know that's what we all want to see, but I just want to take a quick look back at the poll results and just kind of see what the audience here is saying. So I see a lot of people with no experience yet, a lot of folks creating documentation, but it starts to drop off and really, finding a true use case for this type of capabilities inside the work environment. So not surprising, because I think that's the place where a lot of companies are at, a lot of people are at with this technology, is how do I actually use this to make a difference? So with that, that's exactly what we're going to show. And that's exactly what this demo is going to be. Alex, I'd love for you to take us through a little use case of how we can use this data, how the Gen AI learns from that data and helps our maintenance folks and help people contextualize that to make intelligent decisions in their workflows. So Alex, it's time for the demo.
Fantastic. So let's hope that there's some rule that whenever you give a software demonstration, something breaks, and we've all seen examples of that happening. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't be happening today. I know the engineering team have been beavering away in the background. What I want to step through first is the usual workflow that we work with Senseye, and this is very, very quick. So we have this demo account where we have a number of different industries. And think of this as a very large international manufacturing industrial organization. And Senseye is then looking at all of the machines. We have tens of thousands of machines in this account. And we're saying that out of all of those across the whole world, there's about 100 that you need to pay attention to as a human. And we could actually just dive into this FMCG area. We've got making, packaging, warehouse, dairy, all kinds of interesting esoteric assets. And our usual workflow is when Senseye spots something interesting, it raises something called the attention index. And this is used to draw human attention to where Senseye believes it is most beneficial. So this is like a combination of statistical anomaly detection, as well as trend detection, prognostics, user behavior monitoring, and confidence. And we put that all into one score and say, actually, when this crosses a certain boundary from low to high, that's when we should probably inform a human, and the human needs to come in and do something about it. And up until now, we've been able to record all this information and try to make it easy, saying, okay, well, there's been a trend recently. There's been some conditions that have been violated. It's now time to come and take a look. The challenge with this kind of data is you still need to have a very good appreciation for what's actually happening on the shop floor. You need to understand that temperature is going to relate to some condition, some behavior of the machine. But what happens if you don't have that kind of expertise? What happens if you're coming to this quite green? And this is where we now have this case details functionality that is using the power of generative AI. So I can click on this, and this will bring me into this whole view where Senseye is looking at the maintenance history. It's looking at the examples of previous failures with this machine and other similar machines across the entire organization. And this is limited to just your organization. We're not taking parts from one company and sharing it with another. This is based and trained on your data specifically, and it never leaves. So it's secure and focused on that. And that's also a core tenet of ours, that we're isolating the learning that happens with each of these organizations, because otherwise that gets a little bit unfair. However, our expertise in predictive maintenance is being infused into the product in general and into this industrial copilot in general. But the really cool thing that we're seeing here is, right, we have this case that is informative. It's saying that there's an issue, there's a threshold violation, but this is taking it much, much further. So Senseye is then explaining that it's raised this case because of this threshold violation, started 3 hours ago. This is the data that we can look at. And there's also a rising trend pattern that began 9 days ago. Now, this is where it gets really cool. It's saying in the past, cases with high similarity have indicated a potential breakdown and that there was an imminent failure. So this is saying, look, there's actually a really high likelihood of failure on this machine, and you really do need to come and take a look at it. And it's guiding the human to say, look, This is why this is now the most important machine in your whole organization, in your whole area to come and take a look at, is explaining that to someone who might not have that full knowledge. So Senseye is able to say with quite high confidence, I think this might be an indication of imminent failure, and it needs your attention. And it's because we've seen this rising over a number of days, and we've seen similar things happening before. So we're starting to reflect back that institutional knowledge, that institutional expertise and experience that you have delivered and started to build up with Senseye, with the CMMS, and now Senseye is able to take all those parts of information, combine it, and make it easy to understand. And so this thread then updates as Senseye is constantly watching it. Think of this as now a virtual expert maintainer trained only on your data, obsessed with your kinds of information, and able to provide that continuous feedback. So we're able to
one thing on there that I think it's interesting. These aren't thresholds that were programmed in. These weren't messages that were programmed in. This is actually, that is right, the Gen AI capability that's producing that information back to the person, just by the tools themselves.
None of this was programmed in. And so actually we can go to different kinds of assets and we can see what Senseye thinks of them. So you can see that we have all this different messaging, all these different things that the Gen AI is really learning from past behavior, from past user actions, and able to give very, very different messages. So this is saying another instance where the asset is showing signs of breakdown. Let's go and have a look at some other strange machines. So we have a scissor lift. I know that this one is often quite interesting. This is where we're able to say that actually there's similar behavior in the past that was showing obstructions of the lift mechanism. So that's a really good hint for our maintainer to go and say, well, I'm going to go and check the lift mechanism. And they know exactly where to zero on. They have this information about the current and all of the relevant data. And yes, you're right, Eric, none of this is programmed in. This is Senseye learning normal behavior for the machinery and then combining that with what previous users have done from the maintenance perspective, as well as what they've done in Senseye. Because when we raise a case like this, we then ask them to come in and rate their satisfaction. Are they happy? Are they sad? Do they avoid a breakdown or not? And this is data that we've been capturing for about 10 years. So we know very, very well what kind of feedback we get on different kinds of outputs. And the Gen AI is then combining that to weave this narrative, to weave this story that we think is most useful for the end users. So this is designed and assembled on the fly. At the moment, actually, for this case details, I believe we run a calculation on what needs to be put into here every day or so, and that will increase as we start to roll this out to our customers. But it's so powerful that we can now describe these things in a very human way, rather than saying, well, I need to come in and look at the data and maybe look at asset details and still have a really good appreciation for what's actually happening here. Now the machine is telling me, well, there used to be an obstruction. There also could be an issue with it being overstressed. So we recommend that you go and take a look there. And so it's helping me to save time, helping me to save energy, helping me to be much more efficient with my time and what I'm looking at. So as we're rolling out this feature, one of the things that we're seeing is as we're updating this timeline, we're saying, okay, there's all these issues and all these obstructions and all these pieces of information that are starting to weave together into this narrative for how we fix this piece of equipment. There is then the opportunity to talk with Senseye. And we wanted to first roll out this prescriptive messaging and make sure that this works really, really well, and this can boost the often poor quality that we see in existing maintenance management systems. The next step is talk to Senseye. Use it as literally your expert maintainer in the cloud. And now this is where we get into proper beta, in fact, alpha software, let's call it. This is going to be a functionality that's coming next, and we're very excited to show it. This is where it becomes incredibly powerful. So we look at this case, and this is some of the chat functionality that we'll also be bringing into the timeline, and also potentially integrating with solutions like Microsoft Teams and Insights Hub and existing systems that our customers have, so that the power of this is not relegated to one single application. It's then spread out and accessible through the tools that they're already used to, but it's using the analytics and the smarts behind Senseye to deliver it. So we have a case. This is on a kiwi conveyor. So kiwi factory sending lots of kiwis around the world. We've seen that there's a belt tension issue on this kiwi conveyor, where we've seen that sometimes in the past there were adjustments made to the belt tension. Gilbert is our internal code name for this. Whether Gilbert survives, who knows, we'll see. We're able to then immediately say these are the related cases. This is the information that the maintainer would want to be aware of. So, there's belt deflection, there's belt tension issues. And again, none of this has been programmed in. Senseye is looking at all of this and assembling this narrative based on this account, this maintainer, and what they want to be seeing and how they want to be interacting with things. So this is individual to the user, individual to the enterprise working with this. But we can start to ask questions, and this is where it gets really cool. So we can start to say things like, what other measures are here? Whoa, I hope I can type properly. So Senseye is going to go away and think about that and try to find what else might be interesting that we could look into for this piece of equipment. So you'll have to forgive the speed here, or lack of it. This is a real demo that's working right in the background, and sometimes the whole system gets bogged down. We can switch to a video if it keeps like this, but hopefully we'll get something soon. Here we go. Oh, give me a moment. So like any colleague, it sometimes gets a little bit busy. Mm-hmm. So Senseye's gone away and it's looked at the other measures for this machine. It's looked at a correlation between them and said that there's probably nothing else that is too interesting around that. We could ask it to plot it. Because often when we're working, we've got to be demonstrating our knowledge to our colleagues. How can we make sure that they are understanding what we're seeing as well? How can we make sure that we're guiding that human attention again in the right way so that ultimately we're reducing the amount of effort and attention needed to do our day-to-day roles? We're doing it in a smart way. So here we go. Senseye's gone away and it's made some scatter plots so that we can show to our colleagues, yeah, okay, there is no correlation between these measures. We don't need to get worried too much about these other, the relationships between these running currents. We can just focus on this current running current that is showing some signs of trends and anomalies. But we can actually take this a step further. We can say, well, I want to send this to my colleague in China. Can you translate this to Chinese, please? Now, I don't speak Chinese, so I'm not going to try to explain this or narrate it. But you can start to see the power of where we can deal with this information in a very simple manner and start to communicate some very advanced features, functionalities, and outcomes in a way that is just very human, very natural. But I can go a step further. Because this is trained on all of our documentation, because this is trained on all of the customer data, we can say, well, what tools might I need to fix this? Hopefully it won't answer me in Chinese, but we'll see. So this is a system designed specifically to be looking at maintenance issues, specifically to be looking at the kind of problem space that we're dealing with. Predictive maintenance, being intelligent about assets, making sure that we're helping humans and guiding them to be as effective as they can be. So this is a very, very quick preview. I'm going to dive back into any questions you might want to ask Eric and any questions the audience might have.
But I can see how this can become fun, Alex.
And how we can make this so easy and so powerful for our end users.
Yeah. So if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask Gilbert here or ask the Senseye environment, you can text those in here. Alex, let me ask a couple questions. So what does it have? So besides the Senseye data, I guess what else is it possible to hook up to other sources of data like manufacturing systems or the MES data to build this information as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually do that already with Senseye. So we take into account things like different recipes, different machine regimes. Perhaps you're making different components on the same line. And that's all taken into account. And because the industrial co-pilot has full visibility of what's happening in Senseye, it also has full knowledge of that. So we could be able to say very easily, okay, this problem's only surfacing on component A, and here's why, and here's what happened, here's the history of it. So we've taken a lot of time to think about how we can use this very powerful descriptive functionality to surface the information that's already there and stop users having to hunt through it. Because yeah, Senseye integrates with all of those systems. We have a very tight relationship, for example, with Insight Hub, and you get a lot of very good quality data around quality and OEE and what's actually happening in other areas of the factory that would add context to this. And Senseye is aware of that and will play that back to the users as well.
Yeah, the way I see that, it's not just a Gen AI into Senseye. It actually becomes a Gen AI into your whole automation equipment when you're connecting all these data sources together.
Yeah, and it really, the more information we can give it, and it's trained on all of our documentation, the more powerful this becomes, to the point where, yes, we have our Senseye industrial co-pilot, and that then merges with these other industrial co-pilots from different Siemens offerings that we're talking with, and ultimately helps guide you as the end user, whether you care about predictive maintenance or quality or OE or production scheduling. It can now help you with all of these things. And this is the very first step on that.
Yeah, that's good. Here's a test question that came in. I don't know how this will respond. It knows who actually worked on the equipment before, like by name. Does it keep? So could we ask it, like, who do you recommend to help me with this problem?
It's a really interesting question. I don't actually know how it's going to respond. It does know that, but we have put some guardrails on this because we don't want people saying, "Oh, yeah, tell me your favorite songs." It shouldn't do that. And there's also sometimes some difficulty around dealing with that personal information. So we can try it, and we'll see what happens. And this is one of the reasons we haven't also just put this out into the product yet. Yeah. And we're also just taking these steps to make sure that we release features that are really useful. So this case details feature is extremely useful. And then we'll start to continue to train this chat interface and see what happens. So who worked on this previously, and should we ask for their help again? Okay, so the chat's refusing to at the moment. Within the Senseye interface, that will be shown. So you can actually see here we have Senseye as the name of the industrial copilot, Senseye copilot, and then whenever we add an event, that'll be added to this bottom here. But this separate research interface doesn't want to reveal names.
Okay. Well, speaking of, I guess, data sources and available data sources, what about data security? Like, how can we ensure customers that their data is secure in this environment and we're not sharing information between different users?
And that's a really good question. And from an architecture point of view, every customer's data within Senseye is encrypted and isolated. And so the language model is unique then to that customer account and just doesn't have access to the other information that would be stored for a different customer's account. It's just not able to interact with it. So we isolate the features and the ability and its scope to our specific customer accounts to make sure that there's no leaking and that we're not enabling perhaps unfair competitive behavior.
Yeah. I guess then the extreme of that in data security and in this world of cybersecurity and such issues, what about malicious behavior? What would we do against that? So if someone asked, how could I create issues on this machine, or how can I create a problem? Is Senseye going to make a suggestion on that?
Let's see. So how can I destroy this machine to stop this being an issue? I'm tired and I don't want to do any work today. Let's see. So here we go. Here's some of the guardrails that we're putting in. We're trying to think of, one of the challenges with software engineering is you can never quite understand all of the crazy ways that a user might want to use your system. And we're trying to spend a lot of time on that at the moment and trying to see how could this be exploited, how could this be damaged, and how can we make sure that it's just not able to do that. We can ask it to close the case. But that's a human then making a decision on something and saying, look, I'm going to defer this. I think I have other things to be working on. And okay, Gilbert's going to go away and close the case. That doesn't mean that Senseye has given up looking at this. It is always watching. So the next time we see something interesting, or Senseye sees something interesting on this machine, it's going to come right back and it's going to explain, look, you closed the case before. You told me it wasn't interesting, but we see this data changing, and this is really important for you to come and take a look at.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm kind of monitoring questions on the side, and some of the ones I'm asking Alex are coming in from the side here. You're welcome. Everyone who's joining, you can send in your questions in general if you like to ask Alex or I a question. While we're waiting for some more to come in there, Alex, where do you see this technology going in the future? Like, how is this changing things?
I mean, this is a complete change this is a wholesale change for the way that maintenance is performed, for the way that organizations work with their data and information. And I think we can probably all acknowledge that we as in humanity don't quite know what we have on our hands yet, and there's a huge amount of potential here. But we've given a lot of thought as Senseye, as Siemens, to what can be happening next and how can we enable our customers to be more efficient, to deliver more business outcomes, because that's a lever that we can pull. So what's coming next is we want to be exploring more and more data, but surfacing that again in a way that's very easy to understand for humans without them needing to be data scientists. That's a really core thing. We see a lot of products on the market around predictive maintenance that rely on maintainers becoming either condition monitoring experts or data scientists, or both. And we don't think that's a good approach. We think that ultimately these people are very busy, they're often very stressed. And if we're just saying, oh yeah, well, don't worry, you just need to go and do a course on data analytics and then it'll be no problem, that's kicking the can down the road, and that's not using our expertise in a way that can help them best. So the focus for us is revealing information that Senseye already knows, because we know a huge amount. As Siemens, we know a huge amount. We have a tremendous amount of institutional knowledge ourselves that we're making sure Senseye can also then float up to help our users. So we're doing things like making sure that you can actually bring in the manuals for these machines. So Senseye will know specifically what to recommend around the maintenance procedures and say, hey, we noticed an issue, go to page 47 in your manual and start going through these procedures. And then we're making it easy for someone to pick it up and say, okay, I'm heading out to the shop floor with my iPad and I'm going to follow this thing. And I've got my training here and I have my other system that this is hooked into. So this is all about this information fusion and making it really, really easy to work with. And then Senseye will be able to request other advice from other human experts. So generative AI looks like magic, but it's not. But giving it the ability to ask for help is something that we're working on quite a lot. I think anybody who's played with ChatGPT will see that it just lies a lot. And we had some problems with this as well. We had some problems with Gilbert, where it would just lie to us. If it didn't know the answer, it would come up with something that seemed really plausible and seemed incredible. And when we looked into it, it wasn't real. So we have to get the system to be okay with asking a human, because we don't want to say that human experts don't have a place. They absolutely do. But what we need to make sure is that we're using their time and their expertise in a way that is best. We're not coming to them with questions that can be easily answered. We're coming to them with the really challenging problems, and that the AI is able to ask these humans about challenging problems. And we're going to the extent of every user within Senseye has a login, that's fine. But now we can start to tag users within these timelines, within these questions, and have a conversation between the users, between the experts, between the AI, and really improve the output and the outcomes that we're able to deliver. And then we will get to the stage where the Senseye Industrial Copilot can actually start to make changes to the system. So when we roll out, we have our team of customer success managers that will be able to pull some strings behind the scenes to make sure that our customers are seeing the best output possible. And what we're doing is we're teaching the system to be able to pull those strings so that if there's parameters that need to be tweaked or maybe wholesale changes that a customer wants to make, they can just describe it to the system. We're already working on this for something we call derived measures. So these are virtual sensors. And you can describe to the system right now, okay, well, I want a virtual sensor that's comprised of these different things. Please go and pull that data together and make it relevant to this machine, because I'm pretty sure that this is interesting. So you've just seen that we can do the correlation. Now we can go and assemble these virtual algorithms, these virtual sensors, and put that all together. So we're spending a huge amount of time thinking about what are the tasks that we spend a lot of time on, what are the tasks that our customers spend a lot of time on, and how can we make that really simple?
Yeah, that's an amazing vision. This technology is so exciting for sure. Alex, when you and I have spoken in the past, you say one of my favorite taglines that you use, and I use it too, is that you don't have to be a data scientist, to get this hooked into your systems and to start to see the benefits of that. So, along the lines, how can someone get started today with Senseye, connecting up to their automation systems and start seeing the benefits? If you don't have to be a data scientist, how does it happen?
Well, the cool thing is that we spend a lot of time since we were acquired by Siemens integrating with other Siemens solutions. So Senseye is ready to go right now. Insights Hub customers, industrial edge customers, we can go right now. And we've demonstrated that the connectivity between these solutions and getting that data into Senseye is measured in minutes or hours, not days, not months. So the investments that our customers have already made in these existing ecosystems can be leveraged immediately. And then all the features that I've shown you today from Senseye, we are rolling out from today to our existing customers as a beta. And we're being very careful, saying, look, this is not perfect yet. Maybe it never will be. Maybe perfection in software engineering can never quite get there. But we're making sure that we are working very closely with our customers and they can use this right now. So this is not stuff that's coming in 2 years' time. This is live, this is working, and we are rolling it out immediately. If you're an existing Siemens customer, you can benefit from these things extremely quickly. And if you're not, then we've designed an entire pathway and an entire digital thread to get you up to speed as soon as possible, to get data, to get sensors in your factory, to get everything flowing so that we can start saving you money immediately.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. That's good. We're starting to wrap up here, getting close to the end of the time. So before we end here, Dish, maybe you want to just show our last slide here. We have a couple opportunities for you to learn more about Senseye. So on the screen here is a couple of QR codes. So first you click on this link or use the QR code and it'll show you some additional movies, some additional information, some things you can download to learn more about Senseye. If you want to get in contact with someone at Siemens to talk specifically about some of these technologies, there's my email address. You can reach out to myself and I'll connect you to our experts within our Senseye team that can have some detailed conversations to understand the outcomes you're looking for and how we can work together on achieving those. There's also here an ROI calculator. I actually saw a question about this in the poll question, someone asking about how can I show this ROI to upper management. This is a great tool here that you can use. You can click on this and fill out some information. Alex, you know a little bit more about this ROI tool. You mentioned ROI. One of my other favorite things I should say about Senseye is there's a slide you have earlier on that says the incredible ROI that some of our customers in automotive have realized from this, it blows me away each time. So can someone use this ROI calculator here to show those types of proofs to their management?
Yeah, and ROI is absolutely critical, and it still comes down. In predictive maintenance, it's still it's an emerging market. It's not like a firewall technology where it's known that this is what you need. Predictive maintenance, our firm belief is this is what you need in order to run a modern, efficient, scalable operation. But the ROI is still unknown by a lot of people. So what we did is we took our knowledge across all these different markets, across all these different industries, and started to summarize, well, what do we know about what our customers have seen with return on investment? And how can we start to make that accessible to play with? So this ROI calculator, I'm not going to say it is the most advanced calculator, but it's a very interesting way to start to get an idea of what kind of savings you could experience with Senseye. Our team actually then go into a much more in-depth exercise with you. We have a whole series of workshops and the whole methodology that we lead you on. But often this ROI calculator is the very start. How many machines do you have? Which industry are you in? Because all of these things affect the actual outcomes, the actual ROI. So we try to really distill all of our knowledge around this and put it into this very simple calculator to get you started thinking in the way that we are, and then we can lead you on the journey and deliver really solid business outcomes.
Yeah, thanks there. So a couple more questions are coming in here. Alex, I think this is a good one here. How difficult is to hook Senseye up, to my automation equipment, even if it's not Siemens equipment? Maybe it's another provider of automation equipment. Does it matter?
That's a really good question, and that's something again that we've always been very militant about. Almost, we don't want to limit ourselves to any one vendor. So yes, with Siemens, but all of our customers, they use different vendors for everything, and that's absolutely okay. We want to work with everyone. We are machine, industry, and asset agnostic. So whatever data source you have, we will work with that. Again, a fundamental principle is use what you have, use the investments that you have, and make sure that we leverage that in a smart way and give you the information in a way that you're used to working with. And then if we are going to introduce changes, then help you to do that in a process-driven manner. But yeah, we can work with any equipment, any machinery, any data, as long as it relates back to the condition of that machine. So we have customers who even start just sending us a CSV file over email. We can get started that way. And on the other end, you have very advanced customers who have a full Insights Hub deployment with all kinds of information. Or perhaps Aviva Pi, and they're pouring all kinds of data into that. And again, we can integrate with that. Fundamentally, use what you have.
That's good, Alex. Here maybe one more question here that just came in. We talk about data, we talk about connecting up to the equipment, and there's obviously there must be some type of time that it takes for the system to learn a little bit about your equipment before it can start providing useful information. How fast is that? Like if we hooked it up today, how fast do I start getting useful data out of it?
So that answer actually hasn't changed for us. Senseye is learning. It learns normal behavior in 5 days. It's not going to be everything that you want. 5 days is not a lot of time, but you start to get useful output after 5 days. If you have historical data, we can use that and we can back calculate, and that makes the data collection that you've done so far extremely worthwhile. 5 days is the minimum. You're not going to get full prescriptive insights from that unless you're also bringing in some maintenance history and all that other information. Senseye accepts that it runs in a low context environment. We don't expect perfect data. Industrial data is not perfect. But from 5 days, we can start to give you information you can interact with. And the more you interact, the more you work with the system, the more intelligent it becomes for you, and the more value you get from it.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I think that's good for sure. I think we're running out of time here. I think there's going to be one more poll question if you want to answer that, if you want to be contacted. Again, we'd love to work with you to figure out how to integrate these awesome technologies into your systems. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. I hope this sneak peek into the exciting new features was good for you. Hopefully you learned a little bit about what's coming here and maybe how you can start to think about how you can apply these in your own operations. Alex, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate you giving us that demonstration and providing us those insights there. And again, we'll be sending out some more information. We'll have some more webinars coming up where we're going to continue to take deep dives into these topics, showing these solutions from Siemens that we have coming that are helping you advance your manufacturing operations. So again, thank you very much, Alex. Thanks for everyone attending, and hope everyone have a great rest of their day.
Thank you, everyone.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels And find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at siemens.com.